What could you do to protect your pets if you're sick or injured? My product, Save My Pet ID tag, helps you ensure that your beloved pets are safe and well cared for, even when life isn't what you expect.
Now, this is a very special episode because it's just in time for Thanksgiving. I'm spotlighting people who give back for cats and dogs in need. Yes, I'm referring to foster volunteers. Now, our guests today are coming from all over the country. Each is here to unleash their own special foster tale. So let's begin. Our first guest comes from the fine state of Minnesota. I love my Minnesotans. She is the foster director for, I love the name of this group, the Bitty Kitty Brigade. Yes, we're talking teeny kittens. Please welcome to our show, Jess Winstrom. Welcome, Jess. And I think you have another little one to show us.
Yeah, thanks so much for having us. This is Pocket Mouse, who is one of our bitty kitties. This is a kitten who is, believe it or not, 7 days old.
7 days old.
But was born premature at only 45 grams. So we've been...
Wow. What's an average weight when you're born as a kitten?
I would say, 70 to 110 is kind of normal. So
about half to 1/3 less.
That. Yeah.
Okay. So for our folks on the radio station, this is a very light colored kitten, and obviously the eyes are not open. A lot of things still have to percolate, right?
Definitely. Yeah. And she has been working hard on growing her fur. Her arms were pretty naked when she was first born, and just working on growing big and strong. We've been just bottle feeding her every 2 hours around the clock, including overnights.
So when is the last time you ever had 8 hours uninterrupted sleep?
Well, last night, believe it or not, this is somebody else's foster kitten. I'm just babysitting because they're going to the apple orchard for 5 hours and she needs care. So
well, thank you for doing that.
She's staying in my kitten incubator just for the day. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Jess, what is it about being a foster pet parent that you really enjoy, and what made you narrow in focus on this group, neonatal kittens that are orphaned?
Yeah, I would say I've started getting into fostering in 2020, right before the 2020 election. So was just looking for something to look forward to during the pandemic, going into the first pandemic winter, and started fostering with Bitty Kitty Brigade. I was just fostering weaned kittens to start with and just totally fell in love. And the thing that really inspires me is finding these tiny little kittens like Mouse, who they're just fighting against all odds to make it to adulthood and just trying to problem solve and figure out exactly what kind of care that they need. Because believe it or not, a lot of veterinarians don't know a ton about this population. It's rescuers like the Bitty Kitty Brigade, and we're fortunate to have some amazing veterinary partners who have
good. And tell us an overview. I know that the Bitty Kitty Brigade began in 2018 with Mandy Dwyer and Sam Jackson. It's a very specialized niche, and it's in Minnesota. But tell us a little bit about the group, because you guys need to know certain skills of bottle feeding, incubators. Talk about that.
Yeah, so we specialize in orphan neonatal kitten care, which means we're taking in the most vulnerable population. These kittens come into shelters, and because they don't have overnight staffing, they really can't care for these kittens. And so Bitty Kitty was founded really to help improve the survival rates of kittens that are born, before the 5 weeks of age when they can start eating on their own. And we have just an amazing network of 400 volunteers.
Are you kidding? 400 volunteers.
Wow. And not everyone fosters the itty bitties, but we have a transportation team. It's so important that these kittens get into our care.
There's different ways to be a foster volunteer, right?
Yep. We have people who volunteer at our Bitty Kitty wellness clinics. We have people who focus on fundraising because, believe it or not, we're mostly funded by 501c3. We're 501c3. We're mostly funded by individual donations, a little bit of grant funding, but mostly individual donations. So yeah, our fundraising team does an amazing job of allowing us to provide care. This little guy, it will cost about $500 just in food and formula, vaccines, just the basic medical care.
That's important to know. So we need
to get her to adoption age. And our adoption fees are about half of that. So we're not
good.
making huge profit on these kittens.
So
We're
you're raising an orphaned neonatal that costs money.
Pet Greens just donated a large amount of catnip and cat grass to Beagle Freedom Project, who recently just converted an animal testing lab into an animal sanctuary called Freedom Fields. Giving cats in a rescue access to cat grass and catnip can really help with their mood or acclimating if they came from outside to inside. And reducing a cat's anxiety really helps their chances of getting adopted. If you'd like to learn more about Pet Greens, or if you're a nonprofit and would like to request some cat grass for your sanctuary, please visit petgreens.com.
So how do people find out about the Bitty Kitty Brigade? How can they help?
Yeah, I mean, a great way is to go to our website, bittykittybrigade.org, or you can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram. Social media is a great way to keep up with what we are doing. We do have volunteers who are doing data entry or adoption coordination, things that they can do remotely from other states too. So if you're excited about our mission and want to get involved, there are ways to volunteer, even if you're not in Minnesota. So that's pretty exciting. We have volunteers doing things like sewing fleece blankets for us. These
Good ideas. Yeah. Keep going. Yeah.
These
like
kittens
that.
we send them home with a blanket that smells like home. So we go through a lot of fleece blankets. We rescue about 1,000 neonatal kittens each year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And other things people do, there's just so many different ways to get involved. We have people doing data entry to make sure that our medical records are up to date. We have people answering advice emails and just,
it's comprehensive.
tons of ways.
And I think it's also sophisticated. You have to cover all the bases. Yes, you can hold a cute neonatal in your hand, and that's awesome. But somebody has to check the database. Somebody has to order the food. Someone has to make the fleece blankets, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, just
Takes
taking
a
care of
village.
these kittens is just a fraction of what goes into
Any tips
keeping them
on
alive.
Bottle feeding a little guy or a little girl like Pocket Mouse?
Absolutely. Pocket Mouse needed tube feeding, so that's another specialized skill, which I recommend. It's a great skill if you're working with this population to have. Great to learn it from hands-on training. But yeah, when bottle feeding these kittens, you got to make sure they're on their stomach or on the floor. And then I just hold their little heads, make sure I can kind of feel them swallowing. And we use miracle nipples and syringes and just start really slowly. And then they'll latch. You'll see their little ears wiggling. And that's how you know that they
My ears wiggle when I eat. I get excited too. Yeah.
Yeah. And this guy needs to be on heat source all the time. So I'm going to put him back in the heat just so he doesn't get cold.
That's very good. And that's an important thing too. So incubators, what kind of ways to have an incubator?
Yeah, you definitely don't need an incubator to rescue bottle kittens. It's very helpful with premature kittens like mouse to have that constant warm temperature. But just a heat pad or a heat disc is really enough. A lot of our kittens are just living in Rubbermaid bins for the first 3 weeks of their life with a little plug-in heat pad like you'd use for your back and some fleece blankets and maybe some stuffed animals.
And I know it's silly, but why the heat?
Yeah, so they can't regulate their body's temperature at all until 5 weeks of age. So typically, if they were not orphans, they'd be with their mom, who acts as a built-in heat disc for them. And cats' body temperatures run higher than humans. They're around 100, 110, or 101 degrees.
Yes, they're always about 2 degrees ahead of us, usually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the mom will provide that heat source for them. But in the absence of a mom, we're having to provide artificial heat sources for them.
So when do their eyes open? When did they start hearing? And when do you hear the mews?
Yeah, the mews start right away.
Okay.
So they're pretty vocal right away. And usually if they're meowing a lot, it means they're hungry. So a nice, quiet, calm kitten is usually a fed, happy, comfortable kitten. So that's one thing we've learned. Otherwise, their eyes open usually around 10 days old, and then their umbilical cords fall off around 5 days of age. So that's kind of how you can age them. And then by 3 weeks, you start seeing some teeth in their mouths.
Wow.
Their ears open between 2 and 3 weeks. And this varies, of course, just like with babies, human babies, developmental stages can vary a little bit.
So where do they go from? That's the next stage, because you're taking care of them at birth to about 5 or 6 weeks. Then what happens?
Yeah. So at 6 weeks, they get their first vaccinations. We always do a course of dewormers. 70% of the kittens that are born in the United States, they estimate, are born outdoors to unhoused cats. So community cat populations. Yeah. So most of them come in with worms and fleas and all sorts of fun things. So we have to make sure we're treating them for all of that before they get adopted. And then they get posted for adoption around 9 weeks of age, and they can go home at 10 weeks. So
I like that. Tell me, what motivates you to be a foster parent? And not only a foster parent, you're the foster director of the Bitty Kitty Brigade. This is a nonprofit. You're not making money. You're doing this out of love. But why? What is it?
Bitty Kitty Brigade has such an amazing culture of teaching and learning. And I've just learned so many skills, so much knowledge to save kittens. And one of the things that I specialize in is helping kittens with higher medical needs, or the preemies, kittens that come in with some medical issues that need troubleshooting, and that kind of just watching these kittens that are, really born with low odds, poor chances, just fight through everything, and just providing those conditions for them to fight the battle that they have against their rough start is just so empowering and so inspiring, just to see these resilient little beings who just have such a will to live. And I don't know, it just really fills my cup to see them fight their fights and to be able to facilitate that journey a little bit. So
please, Jess, tell everybody again how they can find out more information.
Yeah, please go to www.bittykittybrigade.org or follow us on Facebook, Bitty Kitty Brigade. To learn more, we'd love some financial contributions, or just likes and follows are so helpful in these days of social media. So give us a follow and keep up with the stories of the cats in our care. Again, we rescue about 1,000 neonatal orphan kittens each year, and a lot of unique medical cases, a lot of kittens who have really interesting stories. It's fun to follow along. So give us a follow on social media, and consider this Thanksgiving season a donation to the Bitty Kitty Brigade.
I love it. I love it.
Thanks so much for making our tails wag by watching this guest interview from Arden Moore's Four-Legged Life.
Four-Legged Life.
Make sure to subscribe so you're up to date with all of our Four-Legged Life content.
Four-Legged Life. Four-Legged Life.